My talk today is on how I plan topo-guided treatment in early keratoconus. I have no financial disclosure. So topo-guided treatment with CXL essentially falls under the gamut of CXL plus, wherein alongside the cross-linking, we do a refractive procedure in order to regularize the curvature of the cornea and hence improve the refractive error post-operatively. So how does this work? Topo-guided PRK essentially entails a myopic as well as a hyperopic ablation in order to regularize the cornea. So you will have a myopic ablation at the area which corresponds to the increased curvature or the maximum area of the cone to flatten it. And there is a paracentral hyperopic band which steepens the cornea anterior to it, thereby causing surface regularization. So let's look at some of the general guidelines when it comes to planning the treatment. We know that mild to moderate cases of keratoconus are ideal indications for this treatment, but there are certain principles that one needs to keep in mind, which I will be discussing in the subsequent slides. So there have been a number of protocols that have been described, but the general consensus is that the minimum preoperative thickness, epi-on, should be around 450 microns, or the minimum thickness after the topo-guided PRK and the epithelial removal should not go below 350 microns. So on and off, that gives you around 50 microns of tissue to play with. However, there are certain publications wherein they've gone with ablations which are as deep as 80 microns, provided the preoperative corneal thickness was adequate. So at the end, you should not leave behind less than 350 microns. Here, the optic zone size can be reduced to around 5.5 millimeters in order to save some tissue. Emmetropia here is never the goal. All you're trying to do is make the cornea a little more regular in order to have better postoperative vision. Additionally, CXL here has a hyperopic shift and a refractive effect, which needs to be kept into mind. So as a general protocol, one should undercorrect for about 40% in the conventional approach, which is associated with more haze and more flattening, as against the accelerated protocol, which should have about a 20% undercorrection. So essentially one begins with correcting the higher order aberrations, then goes on to debulk as much of the cylinder as the tissue allows, going up to about 80% with the accelerated protocol. And then if there's any tissue left behind, we correct the sphere. Now it works both for centered as well as decentered cones, and there has been an improvement in the visual acuity and keratometry in both. However, significantly better results were found with centered cones. They've also tried this with the wavefront guided approach. The advantage would be that there would be lower ablation depth at the thinnest point. However, the challenge is that a wavefront is not repeatable. It also takes into consideration the internal abrasions along with the cornea and is dependent on things like the accommodative status and the pupil. So the tomography would give you a more repeatable scan, and obviously you could get a larger area when you're planning the treatment. So this is just a few of the examples which have undergone topo-guided treatment, where you can see there is a gross reduction in the iris asymmetry, and post-regularization, there is an improvement in the corrected distance visual acuity. Now, this is a centered cone wherein you can see more than 50% of the posterior float elevation is well within the 3 millimeter zone, and the patient has done well. Having said that, decentered cones can also do reasonably well, wherein you can see that there is a gross iris asymmetry, and this is a decentered cone. However, the patient following the treatment goes on to achieve a corrected distance visual acuity of 20/20. Just another few examples showing the corneal surface regularization and the subsequent improvement in the distance visual acuity. Centered nipple cones do exceedingly well, where you can see that there's almost no trace of the keratoconus on the curvature map postoperatively. Now, another important thing that entails discussion is the way to remove the epithelium. Now, we all know that the keratoconus has an irregular epithelium, wherein it is thicker over the depressed areas and thinner over the area of the cone. So when we do the planning, it is done with the epithelium on. However, once we remove the epithelium using either the manual or the alcohol method, the stroma that we've left behind with, yeah, I'm almost done. The stroma that we left behind with is grossly different from what the planning initially was. So laser ablations which give you a uniform 50 micron ablation would be better, because what you're left behind with underneath closely mirrors the preoperative treatment and results in better refractive and visual outcomes. There are just a couple of questions that are still unanswered. How much ectasia can we treat well? What should be the attempted correction? And can we go beyond an ablation depth of 80 microns if we have enough tissue? Also, Keratopoulos has described early results of combining customized CXL with the topoguided treatment, and the eyes have done exceedingly well. However, we will need certain more studies in order to see the how both customized CXL and topoguided PRK with CXL work. So I just like to conclude by saying this is a promising procedure, especially for early keratoconus, and it does offer the patient a certain degree of spectacle independence postoperatively, which would not have been possible with cross-linking alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Gitansha. That was a very crisp talk. I have a question for you before we go on to our next speaker. If the corneal thickness allows, should topo-guided treatment with cross-linking be the norm, or do you see a role of doing cross-linking alone in early keratoconus?
I personally think that if the patient does not have a good best corrected spectacle visual acuity, a combination with a topo-guided PRK does exceedingly well. So if there's enough tissue, one should go on to treat as much, rebulk as much cylinder as possible, and also the sphere, and the patient would do exceedingly well.